The Beyond the Fame podcast is fed by Lido Pizza. Lido Pizza never cuts corners. For menu and locations, visit LidoPizza.com. This month's programming is sponsored by Wolf Trap. Paul Simon, Hart, the Goo Goo Dolls, and many more are coming to Wolf Trap this summer. Tickets for over 50 summer concerts are on sale now at wolftrap.org. And of course, this podcast would not be possible without our longtime title sponsor, the Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races in West Virginia. March's dining special events include March Mania food, drink, and viewing party packages in the all-new ESPN Bet the 20th through the 23rd. Details and reservations at HollywoodCasinoCharlestown.com. Must be 21 to enter the casino floor and attend a show. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Welcome to the newest episode of Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. I'm your host, Jason Fraley, picking the brains of the top filmmakers, musicians, and artists of our time. The classic soul group, the Stylistics, performs live at the Birchmere in Alexandria, Virginia this Sunday, March 16th. Founding member Arian Love joins me to reflect on the group's iconic tunes like Stop, Look, Listen, Break Up to Make Up, and You Make Me Feel Brand New. Hey, Arian Love of the Stylistics, the legendary group. Hey, thanks so much for joining us.
Jason, my pleasure. How are you?
Good. I'm doing good. We're talking because
Good.
you're coming to the historic Birchmere in Alexandria, Virginia, on March 16th. Now, I before we even get to the show, I was gonna ask, are you still on a high? I know you're from Philly. I was gonna ask, are you still on a high from the Eagles winning the Super Bowl? But I see the Yankee cap too, so I'm
You know
confused.
what? Couldn't get any Eagles gear, and when I grabbed this hat to put on, I said, "I bet you he." Asked me why do I have a Yankees hat on?
Well,
But
because you're coming to Commanders
gear.
territory, the DC Burgundy and Gold territory here. You know, you just
Right.
beat us in the NFC Championship, but now I see the Yankee cap. So, but you are an Eagles fan. I gotta
No,
confirm.
it's yes for sure.
Okay.
In fact, let me turn this around so I don't get hurt.
Yeah,
But
because
no,
then your Philly fans are gonna think you're rooting for the New York Giants or something with that. You know.
right, that's true. But well, I watched the game out of state, and when I got back home, couldn't find any legitimate Eagles gear. But I had some Eagles stuff from the other time they won, so that was still hanging on my wall. So.
Yeah. It's
But
crazy.
no,
It's crazy we can say the other time they won now because, you know, for many years, there was nothing. So you
I know.
finally got two now.
Yes, yeah.
Awesome. Well, we're still a little, I'm just joking, but I was going to say we're still a little salty at you all down here. So when you're at the
You get over
Birchmere,
it.
you know, be easy on us at the Birchmere. Offer an olive branch because, you know, we were this close with Jaden Daniels getting there. Awesome. But anyway, yeah. So now it's pivoting to the actual show. I assume you played the Birchmere before. It's a historic spot. Have you all swung through there?
Yes, we have.
Yeah.
In fact, I kind of lost count, but this is either the third or the fourth time coming up.
Awesome. What's cool there is, you know, when you're out in the hallways, you see all the different records and you know, signed pictures and stuff. Kind of like behind you, all the golden records you have. But yeah, so it's going to be a cool thing. Talk about tell me why it's so cool to play intimate venues like that, you know, because you've played big shows and, you know, over the years, but intimate
Yeah,
spots like this to hear these hits, like we get to be up right up and close with you.
yeah. I do kind of prefer a small venue, but everyone is up so close. You know, you'd have to make sure that nothing's hanging out your nose. You know, you have to make sure
Yeah, all
that
trimmed up.
yeah, the nose hairs are clipped because
Yeah.
everybody's real close, but it is up close and personal. So it's more I guess home when you have people that you can talk to, that you can see all the way to the back of the venue, you know. So we enjoyed it all the time that we've been there.
Absolutely. And yeah, everyone come check out all the greatest hits. There's so many that we're gonna hear at the show. Well, we were talking about you growing up in Philly. I guess you were born in 49 as a movie guy. I know that's the year that James Cagney in White Heat said, "Made it my top of the world," and you did, and your career. So what did you listen to growing up? What were your musical, I guess, you would have been early 50s and into the 60s at, in your formative years.
Yeah. Well, my mother has had younger brothers that were maybe 5 years older than me. So I was into a lot of the music that they were playing. Lou Anthony and the Imperials. I remember that album with him sitting on a throne with a crown on his head. I remember that to the day. And
Were
Donna
they
Washington.
Tears on My Pillow? What was Little Anthony? Was that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. See, you're probably too young to remember that, but
I just
I
said it,
do.
didn't I?
Yeah.
I am. I was born in '84, but I love that
Okay.
music. So yes,
Okay.
that was great stuff.
hmm And it's ironic because um, the producer that Lou Anthony used, Teddy Randazzo, he did two albums on us after Tom Bell and Van McCoy. So we were familiar with Teddy's stuff when he came aboard to do an album.
Awesome. And of course you formed the Stylistics in Philly there in '68.
Right.
Pivotal year in American history, as we know. MLK gets assassinated that year, right? Bobby Kennedy gets assassinated that year. LBJ decides not to run, and
Well,
Nixon gets
yeah,
elected. Like that, wow, what a pivotal year.
yeah.
Almost as crazy as what's going on now. I mean, it's time. It's
Ugh,
crazy.
I
Um,
know.
But we don't have to go into all that. I want to
No,
know how the band actually formed. What didn't I read somewhere? Like, wasn't it like your English teacher like asked you? There were two groups, right? Percussions and
correct.
Monarchs, and she said, "Let combine."
Yes. And when we graduated, my group, we had two singers and a drummer, and the percussions had three singers, bass guitars, and the lead guitars.
Yeah.
So we combined the two groups, and the guitar player, Robert Douglas, actually came up with the name the Stylistics because we wanted to keep the Monarchs, they wanted to keep the percussions. So when he said Stylistics, the room got quiet. He said, that'll work.
Something that
Yeah.
both neither wanted to budge. So you both you're like that can be a good compromise name. And actually, it's
Yeah.
catchier than all of them. So and it's lasted all this year. So I think you made the right
Yeah.
call.
Yeah. I think so.
I
Yeah.
think so. You worked out pretty well. I think 12 consecutive top 10 hits on the R&B chart, something like that. So we don't have
Yeah.
time to go through all of them, obviously, but I'll pick, a handful to do a deep dive
Okay.
because
Great.
it'll preview some of the songs we'll hear here at the Birchmere, some backstories.
Okay. Great.
Um, so I guess let's start with in '71. Stop, look, and listen to
hmm
your heart in parentheses. I know it's later covered by Diana Ross and Marvin Gaye in '74, but your
Right.
version, I guess was number 6 on the Billboard R&B chart. It even cracked the overall top 40 as well. So it was a pretty big hit. Co-written by Tom Bell and Linda Creed.
Correct.
The name Creed in Philly makes me think of Rocky. Creed and
Oh,
Free.
all right.
And I guess now I think about it, Tom Bell is like the Liberty Bell. Sorry, all kinds of weird
Yeah.
tie. Anyway, memories of they wrote it, but memories of seeing that come across your desk or in the studio the first time and being like, "Ooh, we got something here."
Yeah. In fact, well, that wasn't the first song we actually recorded.
Yeah,
Once he put the two groups together, we were working locally in Philly,
yeah.
just the club singing. And a gentleman by the name of Bill Perry came to our show and he said, "You guys interested in recording?" We said, "Sure." He said, "You got any original material?"
Yeah.
And the guitar player, Robert Douglas, said, "Oh, yeah, I have a song that I wrote." He said, "Well, let's go in the studio." So he took us in the studio. I think the session cost him $500. And we recorded our first song, "You're a Big Girl Now,"
Yeah.
which he released on a local level. And then he sold it to Avco Records,
Right.
and they released it national. And from what we heard, Bill got like $10,000 for the sale, but we didn't see him anymore.
Yeah.
Bill is like totally, he totally disappeared.
Just
So
skips down.
yeah, from the success of that, uh, Avco came to us and said, "Well, we got to do an album," and that's when they got in touch with Tom Bell to produce
Okay.
our.
Gotcha. And that album was the self-titled album, the Stylistics, right? So
Right.
that had You're a Big Girl Now on it, and it had Stop, Look, Listen, and what? You Are Everything.
You everything.
Bet you by golly,
Bet you by golly,
wow.
wow. Yeah.
People make the world go around. I mean, that was a
Yep.
that's awesome. That's quite an album there. That we're just listing multiple hits all on that breakthrough album.
Yep.
Um, well, do you have any yeah, so that's sort of how, it came together for the album, but just in
Mhm.
terms of the song itself, Stop, Looking, and Listen. Why do you think it did so well?
Um, well, I think when we were working on the material, we would go to Tom Bell's office and he would sit at the piano and play it. And Linda would sing the melody of the different songs. And I don't know, just something about Tom Bell's music. When I heard it, like the hairs on the back of my neck would stand up and I would
Oh
get
yeah.
goosebumps and I would say, like, that's going to be a good song.
Yeah.
And most of the songs I heard from Tom Bell, I felt that way. And Stop, Look, and Listen, I think, was the first release from the first album. And I remember hearing it coming home, and it was on the radio coming out of a neighbor's house. And that was the first time that I heard it on the radio.
You're like, we made it. It's out there now.
Well, we worked more. We started working more after the release of that. And I was working at a bank here in Philly in the computer department, and work was coming in left and right. And I had to give my supervisor a notice, that I first was going to take a leave of absence.
Yeah.
And she said, let's see how it works out. And I did that for about a week and a half. Then we were scheduled to do the Apollo Theater, and that ran 7 days. And I said, no, I got to give you my resignation. She said, well, just take another leave of absence. So I was still living at home. I was 18 years old.
Wow.
And my mom said, oh, you got a good job. Don't leave your job. My father said, go ahead, try it.
Yeah,
Give it a
you're
go.
like, leave the bank.
Yeah. So a bunch of 18 and 17-year-olds going to New York City for the first time. That was
Wow.
pretty interesting.
Wow. Well, it takes some guts to leave a steady job. You're working at the bank. Mom's not sure,
Yeah.
and you're like, well, I think there's some bank to be made by the stylist. Well, the stylists are going to be too big to fail soon.
Well,
Uh,
my father said, look, you're still living at home. We
yeah.
got your back. If it doesn't work, we got your back. So why
You can always fall
not?
back here if you need to, but go for it. Take the
Yeah.
leap.
Yeah.
Well, we're glad
And
we're glad you
so we
did.
did.
So that was stop looking, listen, and then you mentioned You Are Everything.
Hmm.
That I like how that opens kind of funky. That was like I guess a top 10 hit. I think your first gold record, I believe, also covered by Diana Ross and Marvin Gaye. So man, they
Yeah.
must have liked your all sound if they covered all of these stuff. Why do you think they kept?
Well,
Why do you think they covered that
um,
one specifically?
people asked us who was first.
Yeah,
And I said, I believe we were.
you were.
I said, but it was something about the Philadelphia sound that the people wanted to capture.
Yeah,
And whether they were doing songs that were penned by the Mighty Three from Philly International, or they were coming into Philly to record at Sigma Sound using TSOP Orchestra, they wanted to capture that Philadelphia sound. I mean, they talk about Elton John,
yeah,
the Jackson Fives,
yeah.
they wanted to capture that. So
You all the OJs, like it was Philly was hopping.
yeah,
I love it.
yeah,
And and then there you had the Motown thing going, and different parts of the country had different sounds, but Philly was something all its own. It's awesome.
yeah. Well, Motown was a little before Philly,
Yeah,
but when Philly came out, Motown got a little quiet, and like I said, the Jackson Five came to Philly to record to
yeah.
capture that sound. So
It was the new hot spot.
yeah.
Awesome. Well, we're talking about how they all started covering your stuff. Stop, Look, and Listen. You Were Everything. But I
Mhm.
believe it kind of went the other way for Betcha by Golly Wow, right? Wasn't that originally a Connie Stevens song in '70, and you all covered it and made it about like a minute longer? That's
I
right?
did find that out.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. She was first, but at the time we didn't know that.
Right, and a lot
Yeah.
of people probably, a lot of listeners probably associated with you all anyway.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
You put your own spin on it. All right, maybe time for a couple more. How about in '72? I'm Stone in Love with You. I think that was
Hmm.
another. I think that was well number 4 on R&B charts, but also on the overall Hot 100. I think still a top 10. So you all are mainstream across the different charts. I think Johnny Mathis later covered it, another legend.
Yeah.
But let's do a deep dive into it. You really, this is the song you can really hear Russell Tompkins falsetto in this one. I really think.
Hmm.
I mean, Frankie Valli had done that before, but and Bee Gees would do it after, I guess, the falsetto stuff. But yeah, why do you think that? Why do you think the falsetto works so well in that song? We'll get to your baritone and some of the other ones later, but let's give him his flowers in this one.
Well, um, I met Russell in junior high school,
Yeah,
and I remember there was a performance that the whole school went to the auditorium,
yeah,
and he came out on stage and had the all-girl choir backing him up. And when I heard him sing, I said, "Oh my God, who is this guy?"
yeah,
And then in school, I mean, we had like it was called Roberts Vaults was the school, but every year they had what they called the Vaults highlights, and they had like a big production
yeah.
play put on for a weekend each year. And this particular year, I was in the play called The Mikado. The the whole garbs and the makeup and everything on. And
Yeah.
that's where I officially met Russell because he was in the play also. Three Little Men from something or something like that. I forget. And then I found out that we live a block away from each other in the same neighborhood.
Wow.
So when we became close, that's when we put together our little group and we were singing
Right.
locally. But Russell's falsetto floored me in junior high school. And Tom Bell just zeroed in on his falsetto
Yeah.
for a majority of our early recordings.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think a year or two ago, Rolling Stone magazine ranked his voice on its list of like the top 200 greatest singers of all time. So
Wow.
you're
Okay.
right. You're right there. You're right there with him. It was yin and yang, I think. But anyway, that was yeah. So I'm Stone in Love. You really hear it, and then what follows that? Break Up to Make Up. I think is a top 5 hit, not just R&B, but like overall again, Billboard Hot 100. So you're
Okay.
dominating the charts, I think, at that point. But
Yeah.
Break Up to Make Up. You'll hear that reference all the. I feel like I've heard that reference in all kinds of pop culture since then.
Yeah.
But
And when I heard that line, and then afterwards I started hearing songs reference that, and I said, "Are they talking about our song, or
yeah,
that's just you know part?" And you like you everything, it's just
yeah.
the same thing. So, but
It's
it
a
was
catchy
interesting.
turn of phrase. It rhymes. It's catchy, and
Hmm.
it's got some substance to it.
That's
I
yeah,
like.
that's Linda Creed's magic, man. She was just an awesome person, period. She just had a sweet soul. And we met her years before we even started recording. And this is with the Monarchs. And we were at one of our rehearsals, and she came in with our choreographer. And she wanted to be a singer at that time. And I didn't remember that until she brought it up when we were in the studio working. She said, "You remember that I came to your house to rehearsal?" And then I went back. I said, "Oh my God, yes, yes, Linda Cree. I mean, I haven't had too many white girls come to my house,
Right.
and,
Yeah.
and but her spirit was always the same,
Wow.
always the same. Was a sweetheart.
Rest in peace, Linda Cree.
Yes, sir.
Spirit
Yeah.
lives on. Awesome. Yeah, so many great songs co-written here by her. All right, well, maybe time for one more. Of course, we got to do the big one. In '74, You Make Me Feel Brand New. I think that.
What's the name of that one?
Yeah, yeah. What is that song again? I
Yeah.
can't quite put my finger.
Yeah.
What is that song? You probably don't remember it. You
Yeah,
probably all.
it comes back. Yeah, I think I vaguely remember
It's
that.
somewhere
Yeah.
rattling around. It's probably
Yeah.
all over your gold records behind. But no, in all seriousness, it almost I think it went to all the way to like number two on the Hot 100. It was maybe almost like the number one song when it came out. But
Yeah.
this one, we talked a lot about Tompkins' falsetto, but this one you
Mhm.
sort of shared the lead vocals, the deeper baritone, and yours is actually the first we hear on the song. So,
Right.
ladies and gentlemen, pinch yourself now as you're listening to this. I'm doing the same right here because your voice, the one we're talking to, is the one, that famous one that goes, "My love, I'll never find the words, my love." Oh, I can't believe that we're actually
Yeah.
talking to that. Um,
Just 40 something years older. That's all.
You've probably sang it so many times and discussed the making of it so many
Mm,
times. But yeah, I mean, is there a way, if you close your eyes, is there a way to remember? It's probably hard. The first time you were able to, be the channel for that. It's all time stuff.
yeah. Well, Jason, it's funny because I think I did that in two takes.
Wow.
And uh Tommy said, okay, that's it. I said, yo, no, Tommy, wait a minute. I got one part I want to correct. I don't like the way it sounded. Nope, it's fine. It's fine. Leave it alone. Leave it alone. We'll spend all day going back and forth, back and forth.
Yeah.
And he left it. And today when I hear it, I kind of like cringe because I said, damn, should have corrected that. I
Really? So
know it.
you're still, well, you're your own worst critic. The rest of us, it's
Yeah,
that's how we know it.
yeah, yep. But to date, that has been the biggest selling song for the Stylistics, and not only here in the United States, but like all over the world. It's a popular song, very popular.
I think it's probably the most iconic. Like when you say stylistics, that's the first one that comes to mind, and then you go back and listen
Okay.
to the other ones. But that's the one. Um, and I believe it. I believe it. It also it earned your only Grammy. Hard to believe, but your only Grammy nomination, right, for best pop vocal performance by a duo slash group.
Yeah,
Um,
that came out the year before,
mm,
and the record company was saying, "Okay, well, we want you guys to go to to the Grammys and this and that."
yeah,
And so we said, "Well, maybe we're winning the Grammy," and then they receded on that invitation and said, "Well, maybe they know we lost. We're not getting the Grammy, but we got the little Grammy as
yeah.
you know nomination." But
Then you were nominated. Yeah. Well, you don't need those shows.
yeah, yeah, right, yeah. But it's funny because the song was everywhere. I forget the daytime show. I don't know if it was General Hospital or one of those,
Yeah.
but they played "You Make Me Feel Brand New" on that. I said, "Oh my goodness, this song is going to be a hit." And the record company didn't want to release it as a single.
Really?
Yeah, we did it on our shows and got a great response from. Went back and told the record company it should be our next single. No, no, we don't think so. It's too long. It's too sad. They gave you every excuse that they possibly could come up with.
Yeah.
And we told our manager, look, Jack, you gotta, persuade these knuckleheads. They need to release it as a single.
Yeah.
And they did. And
I think you were right.
big deal. Yeah.
It worked
Yeah.
out.
Hindsight.
Um, Yeah, I mean, well, not only a Grammy nomination, but your biggest hit ever, and I think it's been covered by Babyface and Ronnie Millsap, and I think Roberta
Mhm.
Flack did, who just died.
I
So
know. Yeah.
well, that's actually a good time to ask you about this because that's a timely news event. Yeah, what did Roberta Flack mean to music? I mean, it goes without saying, but I'd love to hear your take, your memories.
Yeah. I think we worked with Roberta twice. And I remember well, naturally we opened the show, but when she was on stage, we just stood in the wings,
Yeah,
uh, listening to her sing. Pitch perfect. I mean, there was no flaw in any of her vocals.
yeah,
And then I was just amazed that she could play the piano and sing like that at the same time, you know, and still never got a chance to actually sit down and talk with her.
yeah.
But yeah, I was definitely impressed. Then I found out that she was a music teacher, a voice
Oh,
teacher afterwards, so
Wow. I'll
Yeah.
think of all the students she probably inspired and taught.
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. Rest in peace. All right, so yeah, so then if we're moving chronologically, so You Make Me Feel Brand New, that's like the biggest hit, and then after that, I guess you all were invited on Soul Train right around that time, right? I think you were on there twice, I believe. 74 and 84, something like that.
I don't remember the years,
Yeah.
but it was it was before um, You Make Me Feel Brand New because we sung Bet You Back Alley Wow.
Ah, okay.
Yep.
Gotcha. Well, what was go a little further. What was it like getting to play? I mean, that's an iconic show at this point, you know.
Yeah.
Is it
Well,
nerve-wracking being on TV like
it,
that?
yes, yes, and you really never get over it. But I was trying to bring my memories together. The first time we did wasn't Soul Train in Chicago.
Believe.
Yeah, we did it in Chicago first. And then when they moved out to LA, we did it in LA also. But I think it was a total of 3 times that we did the Soul Train.
Wow. And also, I get now that
And I
now
have
that I
much
think
hair,
you what?
much,
Say again.
had much more hair back then.
See,
Had
now
a
we know whether
big
it's
old afro.
A Yankee cap or a Philly hat. Now, either way, it's the same thing going on underneath or lack
Yep.
thereof. Hey, man, everybody's doing that. You got the Rock and Vin Diesel look, you know?
Yeah, it's ordered by Mother Nature. I was not going to be that guy that took that piece of hair and just like put it over there and
Yeah.
put this
No,
next one there. Nope, I just
there's a
shaved it
lot of
all
that
off.
going on in the
Yeah,
highest offices these days. Don't you just
yeah,
rock go natural? That's what I'm
yep.
talking about.
Spray
Um,
it orange or something.
yeah, I don't know who we're talking about.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
no, I think you keep doing what you're doing. You're doing it right.
yep.
Okay, so that was Soul Train, and then I know Saturday Night Live just celebrated 50 years. So, but I believe you all performed on that.
Because I remember seeing it before we actually went on, and every once in a while I get uh, a $6.27 check from
Oh, like a royalty. Thanks, Lauren
for
Michaels.
saying that.
But memory, do you have any? I mean, you've had so many memories. So, but do you have any memories of the cast or any of the sketches while you were there and interactions backstage? See if we
Mm.
jog a memory.
No, I don't. But I remember we didn't do a skit or anything, but we basically stayed in the green room until it was time to come on
Okay.
and perform. And I think it was You Make Me Feel Brand New,
Okay.
too, if I'm
Yeah.
not mistaken. Yeah.
Yeah, it was right around that time, so it probably was. We'll have to look it up, see if we can find it on YouTube or something.
Yeah. And I
And
think they might owe me a couple more checks since then.
see,
Yeah.
watch this or listen to this podcast, folks, and get the man some extra checks. We got royalty.
Yes.
Well, same with Soul Train reruns or Showtime at the Apollo. You all were on that too. So yeah, come on.
Right.
Where's these
Yeah.
royalties? Let's go. Well, you've been generous with your time. So before we run, some lifetime achievement stuff, I want to remind folks you were the Stylistics was inducted into the Vocal Group Hall of Fame, right? In '04.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes.
And I
Yeah.
believe I looked up the class the class of 2004 that you went in with, and it's like
Mhm.
everybody. It's a who's who. It's like the Beatles and the Everly Brothers and the Ronettes and the Marvelettes and the
Okay.
OJs. But yeah, was there? Did you actually go to this ceremony? You say you didn't go to the Grammys, but did you go to
Yeah,
this one?
no. In fact,
He skips
we
them all.
were we were out of the country.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, how
Yeah,
big
I
of an
think
honor to go in with the likes of those legends I just
yeah,
mentioned,
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And coming up, there's a Walk of Fame in Atlantic City, New Jersey.
Oh, really?
And we're getting a star or something on April 26th.
Right.
So we're going up for that.
Not the
Going to
Hollywood
try to
Walk
get
of
all
Fame.
the old guys.
Atlantic City, right? That's
Yes.
closer to that's closer to Philly anyway. They're closer to
Hmm.
the home stomping grounds. All right.
Yeah.
I love it. So next time we play Monopoly and they got the boardwalk in the park, all the Atlantic City, we'll have one little piece that we can land on the Stylistics.
Yeah. And those streets are in order, just like the game. Yeah.
I love it. I did not know I'd be talking to you about Monopoly, but here we are. um, well, hey, real quick, you've been generous. We mentioned that the OJs were in that same vocal group Hall of
Mhm.
Fame class as you, and we mentioned earlier that they were a Philly group. Did you feel any friendly rivalry with them? You know, rising tide raises all boats, but did you all push each other? You think coming out of Philly?
Um, Not so much the OJs. I mean, they were just in another caliber that I don't think we had achieved. But I mean, like Blue Magic,
Yeah.
um, they came out after us, and their producer was Norman Harris, guitar player that played on Tom Bell sessions
Mm.
on our music. So if you listen to some of their orchestrations, it's pretty close to Tom Bell.
Ah.
And then the lead singer was a falsetto also. And they're all from Philly. So, but I remember we were at the Uptown Theater in Philly, and Russell got sick. And Ted Mills is the first lead singer.
There you go.
And he came and said, well, you know, I can sing his part. I looked at him. Oh, no, you can't. And so the rivalry was always there, Blue Magic and the Stylistics. Now we work together occasionally. In fact, I think we might have did a show together last month. And we're just friends now. And they go on stage and do their best, and we go on stage and do our best and just leave it at that.
I love
But
it.
in the 70s, everybody was a part of what was happening
Yeah.
in the 70s. It wasn't really any uniqueness to anything because the music hadn't grown.
Mhm.
You know, now 50 years, 57 years later, um, the butts that are in the seats, they came there to specifically see the Stylistics and hear their music. And then from our perspective on stage, and that's another reason why I like the closeness of a club, you can see people's emotions,
They're
you know,
crying when you're singing these songs.
crying, clapping their hands,
Yeah.
and you think like, wow, that the song has, touched their lives in a certain way that
Yeah.
it's bringing tears. So maybe it represents a loved one that have passed, that they
Hmm.
shared this music to. It's just, so many emotions that we can visualize and see right there from the closeness of the Birchmere stage.
I believe everything you're saying because you look up any of these songs right now, folks. Go to your official YouTube channel and look them up. The comment section is exactly what you just said. People are like,
Uh-huh.
"Oh, my mom passed away, and I remember her," or "We got married to this song." You know, it's just
Yeah,
nonstop memories. It's
memories.
amazing.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I did want to shout out before we run. We were mentioning, the great Philly groups. And then
Mm.
I want to remind folks that you probably inspired a lot of the ones, even from like my lifetime. You know, the big group was like
Mm.
Boys to Men out of Philly. But did you ever run into those guys and they thank you for sort of paving the way?
Um, yes, not so much Boys to Men, but other groups, other artists
Yeah,
have come up to us and say like we opened the door, for them. Yes, that had happened through the years. Yeah,
that's
yeah, for
gotta
sure.
gotta be a
Yeah.
cool feeling. Yeah.
Can
Well,
I pause for 10 seconds?
yeah.
I can't leave without doing this.
Ooh, what is this? What is this? You gonna plug? Are we plugging something? What are we looking at here?
This is our new album.
Oh, pull back a little bit. Okay, okay. Tease it, baby. Tease it. I'm so glad you took the time to go grab that. What are we looking at?
Okay. This was released on the 28th of February. And the single is a song that we did with Shania Twain.
Really? What's the
Yes.
single?
Yes, I will.
Yes, I will with
Yes,
Shania
I will.
Twain.
Yeah.
So we're
And
crossing genre. We're crossing genres. A
I
country star.
know.
Well, she was a crossover country. She was pop as well. But yeah, that we're crossing genres now, baby.
Yep. So on this album is some rock guys, man, that the guy that produced it, Tom Crittenden. Tom opened the show for us 3 or 4 times in the UK.
Wow.
And the last time he said, you guys want to do an album? I said, sure. He said, okay, let me work on something. And Tom works with Elton John's band. So he has a lot of friends that he pulled to do this album. And we didn't realize who it all was until it was finished.
Yeah.
And there's a video out that advertised this album, and then you see them in the studio. The only one feature that we knew of was Shania. And he came in and said, Shania has a song, I want you guys to listen to it. I heard 8 bars, said, yes, we have to do this song. And we recorded it. She sent us a text message, thank you guys, you did an excellent job on the song. So
that's great. So instead of Man, I Feel Like a Woman, it was Man, I Feel Like the Stylistics.
Yeah.
There you go. That's an all-timer collaboration, folks. You gotta pick up the album. What's it called? Where do we find it?
Falling in Love with My Girl. And it's on all the music platforms.
Awesome. Check it out. Well, thanks. I'm glad we were able to get a plug in there for some new stuff. In addition to all these backstories on these iconic hits. I appreciate that. All right, folks. Well, if you want to hear, maybe they might perform a little of that new song. They'll perform all these hits that we were talking about at the Birchmere in Alexandria, Virginia on March 16th. You don't want to miss it. Arian Love, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Jason, it's my pleasure. I enjoyed it.
Thanks so much for listening to Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. Our theme music is Scott Buckley's Clarion. Remember to give us a 5-star rating if you like what you hear. We'll see you next time.